Hi, my name's Jenny Montgomery and I'm the ICAN Regional Manager for Melbourne. I've got the pleasure of working with primary and secondary schools to find the right mentors to meet your needs, the needs of your students and the needs of your school community. I also work with schools to find the right combination of topics, number of sessions for group mentoring, for student talks, for parent talks, and staff professional development to suit what's going to be working right for your particular group. What you're going to see today is not me telling you about what we've got to offer with our program. What you'll see today are the people who are actually involved in the programs that we've got running this year. You're going to see some of our fantastic trainee mentors. You'll see Jake and Finn and Tom and Isaac as they talk to you about how they've taken on leadership roles in their own schools to support other autistic students. And while they're doing that, they're building their own self-confidence and their own sense of self-identity and problem-solving skills and public speaking skills. You're going to hear from Tess about the importance of students knowing that they're actually valued within a school community. Jamie will talk to you about how the program has helped him as a psychologist connect with his autistic students and be more proactive to support them. Tom talks about a holistic approach to supporting girls in schools. Mary talks about engaging families and other school staff in an ICAN program. Tim's going to talk about the importance of relationships in a student's success. And Nicole gives us some great examples of students and their increasing confidence through the program. And Lisa is going to talk about some of the amazing teachers at her son's schools, how they're using his interests to engage him in learning and use that as a springboard for other things that he's doing in the school curriculum. You'll also get to meet some of our fantastic mentors that we've got here in Melbourne. But mostly I'd really strongly recommend that you jump over to the auditoriums that we've got running in the other sessions today. Because really that's what we're here to see. We're here to showcase the awesome autistic talent from the young people in our programs and the young people around Australia today. So I hope you really enjoy the day. And if you've got any questions, ask us at the end or send us an email or contact us through the chat. But as I said, enjoy your day.
A trainee mentor is chosen from the ICAN group, or they can volunteer, and then they help the other people in the group.
Well, if we went by the literal definition, it's a mentor in training, but trainee mentors, as Tom mentioned, they're either picked from the group or they volunteer. It ain't a conscription sort of thing whenever you're picked. They just ask you if you want to be one. You can easily say no, and that'll be the end of it. Trainee mentors, essentially, first of all, they have the role of helping the actual mentors in the group run the sessions. They will run games, they'll run Spectrum showcases. Sorry, I forgot what they were called. The good news, the shout outs. And they're basically Santa's little helpers.
Like, they're still in the group, but they just help engage and lift up the spirits of the other participants. Try and get everyone involved.
You can go to them on a one-on-one basis and chat to them. They can help you with your problems. They can be good friends. And they're just always there in the school, unlike normal mentors. So, unlike normal mentors, where they just show up on a bi-weekly basis, the trainee mentor will always be there and you can always go to them for help.
It's not only just being a leader as such, it's also just being there for the people, like being there not like as a friend almost. So like you're there for them to come to, and like they can talk to you about some of their problems, or they can ask you for help with something. It's not just like being a leader and telling them what to do and what, it's also like being there for them and helping them through whatever struggles they might face.
Well, it's a good excuse to not do school, but in all seriousness, I like helping people with their problems. I just seem to get a bunch of enjoyment out of seeing people transform from little antisocial human beings to quite extroverted human beings who can solve a lot of problems that they just couldn't before. And I enjoy the public speaking that comes along with that, unlike many other people I know.
I like to be a leader and I like to help others to become a good leader like I am portraying.
I like being a training mentor because of just being able to help people, and it also like makes you aware of there are other like just there's people who understand you, and then you can help people understand themselves. Like if they don't know they have autism and they've only recently found out and they join ICAN, you can help them with that and help them learn.
Figure out their problems and like, you know, just try and help them with whatever they're trying to face. And I think this position is really good for doing that. Helping people overcome their struggles with autism and really letting them embrace it when they couldn't before. Giving people strength and confidence to do something like public speaking or, you know, just speaking in social situations.
As I said before, being able to help people and help them learn to understand autism, because they might not understand it. But then it's also, again, the people you meet at the expos, the topics that come up, people's interests. You find people are interested in the same things as you.
I do love meeting new people. I've always loved meeting new people, and being a training mentor in ICAN, it's really helped me interact with new people that I probably wouldn't have ever thought to speak to without doing this. And it's really built my confidence with speaking to other people, whether they be a stranger or someone I really know.
I can only narrow it down to two parts. First of all, I like watching people grow and develop. It's quite fun for me to watch how they transform over the years, especially with people like Isaac, Finn, and Tom here. How I get to watch them just change into brilliant people. And the other part is obviously meeting the new people. I was one of the lucky ones. I got to go to a bunch of different mentoring sessions, which meant I got to meet a whole lot of different people from many different walks of life. Got to go to the city, got to go to the outback, I got to go everywhere. And then I got to meet them again at the expo, and it was just fun seeing them be a lot more happy and confident in that small progression of a few months. I would obviously encourage them to take on the opportunity because, from my personal experience, it has always led to good things.
I'd definitely encourage them to take that role and feel confident, because being a training mentor, it feels great just to like be with that community of kids in that group and work with them and know that they can come to you if they need anything. It's just a great feeling, and I really think it's a great opportunity for yourself and the whole group.
Training mentors always seem to be the leaders of the group. It isn't something that happens overnight. Like for myself, I didn't start to do public speaking well or speak pretty darn well until I hit year 9, which is then when I was asked to be a training mentor. And I just signed up because I went, oh, why the heck not?
It's just all about helping people, and you get to help yourself as well.
Because you can reflect on your own actions. Also, it helps with leadership and confidence, which is really, I think, a great benefit for me.
Yeah, I really think being a training mentor can help you with your confidence, your public speaking skills, and just overall social skills. Because you get to chat to a wide array of people, you can socialize, you can get on a one-on-one basis, help them with their problems.
by helping other people that you help make a difference in their lives, and then someday they may make a difference in yours.
We saw that there was a gap for our supports for students with autism at the college. I have a very close relationship because my brother is actually autistic, so I knew that there were struggles, but there are a lot of things that he experienced that I didn't know what he was going through. So I thought around how to best support them, and that's when we came across the ICAN network.
I've noticed over the years when my son links in with you know, people who actually get him, and teachers that get him, and other adults that get him, or family members that just understand and embrace his strengths. I think that there's a marvellous effect that happens, and when I can see that happening in his relationships with people, when he feels that he's understood, it just brings out his light.
Who better to know the ins and outs of the students in a way? I know everybody on the spectrum is an individual, but having that insight of coming through school themselves and then leading a school-based program for these students, they'd have that understanding of having gone through it themselves already.
For the students to be able to make that connection with others that are on the spectrum and that are obviously have moved through a journey and are now able to run a program such as this, and for them to be able to bring their story to this forum, I think having people that are actually on the spectrum as that role model is a really important aspect.
It's really important to understand how a student with autism functions in a classroom and how we can best support their needs, so that they don't get put into a box of that they're disruptive or they're distracting or they're not falling into another category of like behaviour management, for example. We wanted to meet their needs so that they were understood and they were accepted and they felt like they could be themselves in a classroom, or if it wasn't a typical classroom space, it was another space that they could go to, and that it just helped the relationship between teacher, student, parent, us in wellbeing, that we all kind of had the same understanding of what the child needed and how they could best succeed in school.
Often when young people work with a range of organisations, there are people in the organisation who have an academic understanding or a working understanding of the challenges that the young people or the families are facing, but to be able to partner with an organisation where the individuals have first-hand experience of what it's like to be an autistic young person in a school brings a depth of knowledge and understanding that you just can't get through practice and learning, you know, that personal experience.
While Tim and I bring a lot of experience, you know, we are that neurotypical, so to speak, and having someone on the spectrum talk to other kids on the spectrum, I think it just adds another value.
We saw the benefits and we saw that it's probably a lot more beneficial for the young person to have a mentor that is like them and that can relate to them on a much more deeper level than me just saying, yep, that does suck, because I don't know what it's like.
In terms of mentoring, having young people come into the school who have been through the school system and know what it's like to be an autistic young person in a school, and the particular challenges that brings for individuals, and to be able to share their stories and encourage other young people to have a real sense of pride and to take challenges and to grow as leaders is a really unique opportunity that we get in partnering with ICAN for our young people that you can't get from another organisation.
I found that when he started engaging with the ICAN mentoring programs a couple of years ago, from the very first session, he was just really engaged and felt supported and listened to. And I think it's that thing of just feeling a part of this neurodiverse community that embraces differences and strengths and talents and creativity. And I think that's probably why I chose the ICAN network.
Having Chris speak to the students as well as families this year, having lived experiences as a student living on the spectrum certainly adds to that level of knowledge, I guess, and understanding. Again, it's invaluable in how he becomes such a, I suppose, credible and important resource for the families that we support and the students we support.
Having heard many years ago Chris Varney doing that famous TEDx talk, and his mother Lisa speaking as well over the years, I've seen her do a couple of things, and just from the time I saw him do the TEDx talk, I thought, yeah, this is, you know, I get this. This is a community that understands. So I think that's the main reason why I chose the ICAN network, and, you know, have not looked back since.
Engaging families in anything can be challenging. With ICAN, though, it's quite interesting. We don't find it particularly difficult, and I think that's now, having had the program run in the school for a number of years, there's a sort of an organisational or community knowledge of the program and how successful it can be and how supportive it is of individuals.
Us, it wasn't really too hard to get a lot of our families on board, because it was almost like they were thankful that we were so strongly pushing this initiative for the students. And I think it also helped our families meet Chris.
That initial connection with families to get them on board was having a parents only session with Chris, where he was able to sort of go through his personal experience and, I suppose, justify and rationalize the program in itself. And then, as I said before, his background certainly alluded to why it's so important.
Having the parent information evening and having a young person speak who had been involved in the program at a previous school, and so they could speak with experience about how it had made their school experience so much more tolerable and manageable. And so having that first-hand experience was something that I think parents found really, really powerful to then think about the impact for their own children.
There were certainly some parents that we had that came just for the information at first, but our numbers week to week with the student groups certainly grew from start to finish in the 7 sessions that we had. So certainly having the parents as part of that process and the meetings, we had one at the beginning and the end, sort of bookending those student sessions. So it gave us the opportunity to have further feedback from them and further questions from Chris and myself to what would they like to see more of or less of, and I suppose to what to focus on more.
Through the open night, and I think through remote learning, definitely having the ICAN network and their sessions run in the family home made, also expose the parents to it. So getting our families on board was never really a struggle. Sometimes it was more like getting the actual student on board, because a lot of our parents are so supportive and so open to new ways of supporting their child and just helping them build connections with each other and with staff. So it wasn't too hard, but we definitely just made sure that we aimed it at a way to support their child, for us to get to know them and for the child to feel included in the school environment.
Throughout the year, in parent-teacher interviews, it's discussed as well that, how they're going in the sessions and what we've seen of them coming out of the sessions as well.
We weren't quite sure at the very beginning how we were going to manage the whole idea of introducing this program into a mainstream school setting. So obviously, disclosure and all those sorts of things involving families and students and whatnot was something that we really needed to think through very carefully. But I obviously followed Chris's advice about holding our parent forums and all of those type of strategies that are part of the program. So we started off with putting little bits and pieces in our newsletter. Then when we actually had our students that are on the spectrum flagged from the previous year, we invited the family with the child to the talks that Chris actually gives to the families.
Having a really open open dialogue with parents about all the different challenges within a school for a young person and the things that the school is doing to try and support young people to manage those challenges and rise to them. So it's sort of a combination, I think, of parents and carers being able to see the positives that other families and other young people have experienced, and then keeping that conversation really, really open and ongoing about the impact that joining a program like ICAN might have for their particular young person.
So currently I'm talking to our Year 6 students' parents that are starting with us next year, and if they're on this, if they're students that are on the spectrum, I actually bring up the ICAN program and I say, have you heard about it? And I start getting them thinking about that and encouraging them to go onto the website. And it's amazing, there's quite a few that are already doing the online programming with their students, and we're actually attracting enrolments to come to the college because they know we have the ICAN program.
My point of view, it's been really easy to engage families, I think, in a program like this. In the community, I think there's a big gap for strength-based autism type groups, especially for adolescents. I think that they're much more likely to be for younger children. So I think a group like ICAN, it's definitely filling the gap in the community. Often in the community, they do come at quite a significant cost for families. So being that it's at school, it's cost effective, it's time effective. The students don't have to leave school to go to a group, for example, take up their weekends. They even get out of class. So that can be an easy selling point for some families and some students, and doing something different.
Chris did a whole staff or whole school professional development and personal learning sort of session. So that was invitational, and we had about 40 or 50 staff that came in just to listen to Chris, and I spoke a little bit, but introducing Chris mainly, and he went through his, I suppose, trials and tribulations of growing up at schools and the positivity that he had from certain teachers in particular, certainly highlighting some of the aspects of his time at school as a student that he struggled with. And I suppose mostly he tended to focus on the ones that were the positive side of things. So how his life at school and how some of these teachers in his life alleviated some of that pressure and ultimately made himself, that classroom, that teaching experience mostly positive.
So last year we opened up invitations to all our staff, and we would have a different teacher come to every session. The in-person ones last year, and that was great. I think that really helps some staff understand, where our students were coming from, the things they found difficult, the things they had strengths in that maybe they hadn't seen before.
Seeing the change from then to now, even through remote learning and the like, seeing the students develop a bit more confidence, and you can see that now back in the classroom, and a lot of the teachers have sort of picked up on that as well, that they're getting a little bit more out of the kids, they're getting more responses from them, they're seeing them being a little bit more involved. So whether or not that's just because of ICAN, but knowing what they were like before and seeing what they've done in the sessions and seeing them grow through the sessions, that has also come out into the classroom now.
It was not so hard to get our teachers on board. It was definitely just that we kind of saw ICAN as any other type of support, like literacy support, numeracy support. If they were going out for coaching or for music, like we just saw it as an extracurricular activity that was just as beneficial as all the rest. So it was just something that kind of became normalized, and the staff know about ICAN, and they definitely encourage the students to attend.
We do bring up ICAN in our staff meetings, in our student year level meetings, so it's often on the table of discussion, and staff do show a strong level of interest.
We've definitely seen a lot of our students become more confident in themselves and more comfortable in their little, I guess, their interests or their quirks or their like mannerisms. They've built connections with each other, which I think is great. I think, because we are a K-12, it's definitely been cross-sectional. That has been, it's not just like the kids in their year levels. It's now across multiple year levels that they're all friends.
I think it's really important for teachers to be able to see the benefits of something for young people. And once staff, ES staff or teachers can see the benefit, then it's a very unusual person who doesn't get on board and doesn't want the young person to have that experience that's so positive for them. So I think celebrating the successes is really important, and doing that on a whole staff level. So, in a staff meeting, talking about the successes that young people are having through the program, making sure that staff are exposed to those successes, and that students have an opportunity to feed back to their teachers about the things that they're enjoying in the program or the growth that they're making. So I think it's a little bit about making sure that everyone's having that conversation.
Just the most recent example was this presentation that he's doing for the Autism Expo is actually going towards his curriculum for his subject of English at Virtual School Victoria. And it was his Virtual School Victoria teachers that actually recommend to me that he participate this year, because they thought it would be great for him to be in this safe space and do some public speaking with an organisation that he already knows and is really comfortable with. And also just that added a bonus of talking about his special interest. He was sold straight away. So, and knowing it's ICAN network, he just feels very safe and supported to do that presentation.
We have one young man who started in year 7, and he is now, he became a mentor in year 9, then carried that through to year 10, and he has moved on to another campus now, and he continues to be a mentor for our students here on campus. And this young man's original profile was that he had a phobia with public speaking, and a phobia it was. And he has moved to such a place now in his own self where he's able to, when he has had interviews with television programs, he's actually emceed the expo a couple of years ago, so in front of 300 or 400 people. The first time he attended an expo and gave a speech, himself and his mother and myself, sorry, not himself, myself and his mother actually were shedding a tear to see him in front of a group of people that he didn't know, speaking about a passion of his that he was allowed to speak about. Was just amazing. Some of the trainee mentors that we have present quite differently in the classroom that they do in the actual setting of the program. And another young man in particular, he's a year 9 now, so he's been in the program for 3 years. In the classroom can be quite difficult and can be a little bit of a challenge to teachers in the classroom, but within the setting, being a mentor, he is amazing. We're gobsmacked to see the way that he communicates with the younger members of the group and are able to bring the best out in them.
One that comes to mind, a student that I worked with last year and their family. They hadn't yet started the diagnosis journey. So we supported them with that at school, and that was a really difficult time for the family, and there was a lot of reframing of challenging behaviours and things like that. And so along that assessment journey, ICAN came along at a really great time, and I think it helped normalise a lot of those behaviours for the family, and for that student, it offered, I think, a connection that hadn't been there for them before.
There was one student in particular last year. She was a Year 12 student, so it was her last year of school, and she'd never really been open around her autistic diagnosis, and it was something that I think she felt that no one really understood her. So when it came about, she was really excited to be a part of it. She was quite apprehensive, I think, at first, but she was quite excited because, you know, in all her schooling, like nothing had ever been like introduced to her around supporting her and her ASD.
Selling it to that student before starting with ICAN, they were really reluctant. They didn't want to be seen as different. You know, they didn't want to be pulled out of class and all of those kinds of things. And only really agreed because it was virtual. And they said, you know, when we come back to face, they didn't want to be a part of it anymore. However, that wasn't brought up, and they were really happy to continue, and they're having a great time.
We saw her absolutely thrive in that she became a role model to the other students. She became like a little mentor. And I remember last year at the Autism Expo, she actually gave like a 10-minute conversation, a 10-minute presentation around her love for fashion. And it was so lovely to see her just come out of her shell and just feel included. And I think the expo was one of the turning points for her, where she was like just so happy. You could see that she was happy and she was confident, and she just, it was so lovely to see her transform, I guess, over that year. She'd always been quite, you know, confident, but this was just like confident in herself and her ability. And it was so lovely to see. And now she's actually part of the ICAN network. She's one of the mentors, which was lovely to see that it kind of went full circle. And now she can help other young people at other schools to reach their potential and to see their autistic diagnosis as something that's positive, not something that's going to hold them back. If anything, it's going to push them to be amazing, amazing human beings that we already know that they are.
If you, as a school, you're valuing things, the young people who are involved in that value system get a sense of pride and get a sense of confidence from being valued intrinsically. And then I think with the program and the way it's structured, and you know, it's very careful way that the mentors support young people to build their personal skills as they're ready to build them, is absolutely working towards creating confidence for the individuals. You know, practicing speaking in front of each other, practicing sharing, the different kinds of team building games that are played, you know, the activities, they all support the individuals to become more confident in their own abilities, and then in their abilities to participate in groups and socialise.
You can just see that they're comfortable in that space, and in that being the case, they're actually very confident to speak up, and they don't feel that they have to be on guard. They're encouraged to talk about their passion, so they can actually feel the acceptance in the room because they're all on the same page.
Definitely grown in leaps and bounds in their confidence in themselves, in what they do and how they do things as well, and in those peer interactions and interactions with other staff members.
It's just definitely helped them to feel included, and that there's no shame in who they are and what they like.
In the ICAN group setting, you know, when we're talking about the students talking to the group about their interests or anything like that, would obviously make them uncomfortable, but there was enough comfort there being that they were talking about an interest and something that they liked, that they really conquered that anxiety. So I think in that type of example, it's definitely increased students' confidence, and then they can apply that to, you know, in their English class when they're doing a speech or they're doing some kind of an assessment in their normal classroom environment.
His confidence has increased due to his the supports around him, but also because of the ICAN network and the mentoring sessions. I think one particular thing they've really given him is a voice and confidence to speak up, and kind of a language around that, because not that I'm in the sessions, but when I talk to Christian about the sessions afterwards, he does talk about some of the topics and what the mentors have talked about in their experiences, and how it feels to be autistic, and conversations around autistic identity. And I think that knowledge is power, and just having these mentors to talk to and just guide Christian and tell him, look, it's okay if you're not comfortable with something, you can speak up and explain why you're not comfortable. So I think just talking to you now, it helps me to articulate that one of the big things Christian's got from the ICAN network outside of confidence building is self-advocacy, and the ability now to advocate for himself independently, rather than me having to step in and explain on his behalf, which I've been doing less and less of. And he actually does a much better job than me at articulating what his sensory issues are, or what he needs, or what will make him feel more comfortable. So that's just been incredible achievement over the last couple of years since engaging with ICAN network, that he's got a voice.
I would say absolutely without hesitation that every school should be running an ICAN program.
Find a school that's nearby if they run it, and come and see it if you're still unsure, but do it.
I would encourage them, and I have in the past, encouraging them to come along to our sessions here, and to just observe and see what it's all about. And they can see from that experience, if any of them have taken that on board, and we have had a few in the past, they can see the impact that the sessions have on the students.
The main thing I've really recognized this year is having that holistic support from top to bottom, or from end to end, whichever way you want to look at it, is initially having that relationship with myself and the families and the students, but having that professional learning for teachers to be aware of the ins and outs of what it means to be a student living on the spectrum, to have that conversation with parents, to have the perspectives not only in what we sort of can learn about autistic students ourselves, or students with autism, but having lived experience, having personal experience, and having their invested energies and experiences is, I suppose, the most valuable sort of side of things.
It's great to get to know your students, and especially the more vulnerable kind of cohorts, and when they do need your support, I think they tend to feel a lot more comfortable in those kind of situations. So I think with a program like ICAN, everybody wins.
No matter what part of your journey of acceptance you are, the ICAN can meet you through that journey and can support you through that. And I think that's one thing that I definitely remind the kids, is that sometimes it can be quite confronting if you're not so comfortable, with the word autistic. I think because it is sometimes can be misconstrued or can be taken negatively. But the way the ICAN network is that they frame it in a way that it takes away all the negative, and it just focuses on the positive, and it focuses on the person, and that's just part of you. It's not all of you. And I think that is so important to remember. And I think it's great for parents to see that, and for teachers, and for the students. And the mentors do an amazing job at going at the pace of each student, and somehow they do it in a way that is just so effortless. So I think the program is so amazing, and I want it for years and years to come.
I would absolutely say if your child has the capacity and interest to join an ICAN network mentoring program, absolutely 100% go ahead. Just it's such a wonderful opportunity for an autistic young person to find their tribe and connect and feel comfortable. So yeah, I would absolutely not hesitate to recommend the ICAN network to other parents, without a doubt.
There are young people in schools who are feeling marginalised and are feeling underconfident or undervalued or not included, and ICAN is a program that supports a section of those young people to feel really really included and to build their confidence and become much happier, much more engaged members of a school community. There's just no reason not to.
Hi, I'm Erin.
I'm Iris.
Hey, I'm Will. My name's Patrick.
My name's Will and I'm one of the mentors for ICAN.
My special interest is music.
I love to game, read and write stories.
I enjoy gaming and going out with mates, rowing, spending far too much time in the gym and travelling.
I love Formula One.
My biggest passion and interest in life is animals.
I've seen a lot of mentees really start to say ICAN over the time they're mentored.
There was one instance where we had a more musical mentee in a school group, and he mustered up the confidence to play a couple of instruments in front of the rest of the group. And it wasn't until later we learnt just how monumental that had been and how proud his parents, his teachers, and even the principal was of that he'd really struggled to come out of his shell until that point.
So I used to be a mentee myself. So when I was at high school, ICAN Network came to my school and I was participating in the programs. And those programs really just helped me out a lot, understanding things and kind of helped create who I am today. And knowing that I'm doing similar things to people now is a great feeling.
Being a mentor with ICAN is such a fantastic experience because you get to work with such fantastic people and you get to help other people feel comfortable with themselves.
The reason I became a mentor is because I wanted to make someone else feel just as amazing as I did when I joined my first ICAN program. So I believe that is why someone should consider becoming a mentor. It's sure to be an experience you'll never forget and take with you through life in whatever you pursue.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Have a great day at the Expo.